It's the George Plaster Show. 30 years of the best sports talk in Middle Tennessee. Featuring Tennessee Sports Hall of Famer Watson Brown. And it's a shame it's taken this long to get an introduction for this Tennessee Sports Hall of Famer, Kelly Holcomb, along with young gun Billy Derrick. And now, here's your host, George Plaster.
Hello again, everybody. Welcome in on a rainy night in Georgia, which also means a rainy afternoon in Nashville, where it has been pouring. And the forecast, to be real honest about it, looks like over the next 3 or 4 days, we're going to get a lot of rain. The good news, don't hear anything about snow. That is some good news. Okay, we got a good show for you today. Mark Griffin to talk college basketball at 2:20. And then our buddy Watson Brown will join us at 3 o'clock. We'll get into Super Bowl, but we'll also get into some college football stuff that has broken in the last hour, if you're watching us live, that is absolutely insane. Billy.
George.
How are you?
I'm doing great.
So where are you starting the old update?
Well, you just said it. There's all of a sudden on a random Friday, after not a ton of college news, we get kind of a flurry of news, specifically in the Big Ten, specifically between a couple of teams, Michigan and Ohio State, one of the bigger rivalries in the country. We'll start with Boston College, the team that took
that
Ohio
started
State.
It all.
Yeah, they started it all. They stole Bill O'Brien from Ohio State after he was there for a couple of weeks. So Bill O'Brien, they're working towards a deal to make him their head coach. Of course, he was born in Massachusetts. He's obviously been up there, before.
Former Patriots offensive coordinator.
Yep, former Patriots OC. I didn't know if this would actually happen, George, but the fact that it has happened, I think it's a pretty big hire. And kudos to everybody at Boston College for making it happen.
Yeah, they were able to identify, apparently, I'm not sure how, whether it was search firm or otherwise, the asking Bill O'Brien the question, if we offer, will you accept? And apparently the lure to go home was a pretty good one.
Yeah, he took, like I said, he was the Ohio State OC for a couple of weeks, and he's not too old either. He's 54 years old. He's been with the Texans, Patriots, so he's got a ton of experience. It'll be interesting to see. I think that if you were kind of picking a guy that could maybe resurrect that program a little bit, because Jeff Hafley had it down, I would go with Bill O'Brien as a pretty decent candidate to kind of right the ship a little bit.
That said, it's a hard job.
Yeah, still a hard job. So we'll see what happens there. Also, so Ohio State had to kind of turn. All right, where are we going now? Quickly, and they did do it quickly. They're hiring UCLA head coach Chip Kelly as their new offensive coordinator. Kind of a weird situation. UCLA announced this morning that he's departing the program, and a national search has all of a sudden begun.
Oh, I bet they are pissed, because in February, think about this, most of your college hirings and firings have long since happened.
Mm-hmm.
Most of them happen in early December. Now you're getting into recruiting and spring football. And all of a sudden, your coach bolts. Now, when we talk to Watson Brown, I'm going to throw out the theories. The one that I think makes the most sense is that Chip Kelly said to himself, I'm one step ahead of the posse. They wanted to fire me a year ago until I beat USC, and then all was forgiven. Well, obviously he didn't feel all that secure. That's theory number one.
Right.
Theory number two, which I'm not buying, but I came up with it, is that maybe he does not want the head coach the wheeling and dealing of NIL and all that. He's a play caller, and he's a pretty darn good one. Maybe not as good as the reputation has said that he is, but, maybe he's thrown up his hands and said, I don't want all this head coaching crap anymore.
Yeah.
I happen to think it's number one.
I'm with you too. And his buyout isn't that big, $1.5 million. So Ohio State, is going to have to deal with that. But
that's because he's been at UCLA a while.
Right.
Goes down with each year.
Yeah. And the thing about Chip Kelly, he interviewed for multiple NFL coordinator jobs. He interviewed with Seattle, and I think the thought was that he may enter the NFL, but again, Ohio State went big time, and they said, let's go get Chip Kelly and try to beat Michigan.
Well, they probably got more talent than some of those NFL teams.
That's true. That is true. So elsewhere in the Big Ten, Michigan is going to hire former Giants defensive coordinator Wink Martindale.
Now, help me with this. Wasn't Martindale about to accept? Was it Jacksonville? Where was it? He was supposedly about to take a job.
Well, of course, him and the Giants parted ways.
Right.
I think you're on to something there, George. I don't know. I think potentially the Chargers, maybe, but Jesse Minter from Michigan, that's where he went. So I think after a lot of these coordinator jobs had kind of been snatched up, Martindale, I guess, kind of threw up his hands a little bit. I think you are on to something. I'm not sure because we brought him up.
About to accept something, and it was not as a game show host.
No, it might have been Jacksonville. Has he ever coached in college? That's an interesting question for.
I would assume at some point
Martindale early.
Has.
Yeah. Let's see here. Baseball news. Former Mets GM Billy Epler has been suspended for fabricating injuries. He's been suspended through the 2024 World Series this morning by Rob Manfred. No Mets medical or athletic training personnel were mentioned in the announcement, but Manfred said in a statement that Epler directed the deliberate fabrication of injuries and the association's submission of documentation for the purposes of securing multiple improper injured list placements during the 2022-23 seasons.
Okay. When I read that story, here's one thing that crossed my mind. A.J. Hinch, when he got booted in Houston as part of the whole, trash can banging thing, he got a year. Now, you may say, well, they're both in the same fine family of attempting to destroy the integrity of the game.
Yeah.
Are those equal? Are those equal offenses? And I'm asking this more than saying, come on, give me a break. I'm kind of asking the question, do we think those are equal, equivalent penalty things?
So Hinch, were those multiple cases?
No, Hinch and Cora were both. Am I right about that?
I'm not as familiar with that.
Cora, well, the trash can banging of the Astros when it got out.
Oh, I don't know.
But are those two, because penalty wise, I think I'm right there. They're exactly the same. Hinch got suspended for a year, came out admitted to things, and then the Tigers hired him, which is where he is now.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think the thing with this is that it involved fabricating injuries for up to a dozen players.
Oh, it's a serious deal.
The
story is that somebody in-house with the Mets leaked this to the commissioner's office.
An anonymous letter from within the organization. Yep.
Yeah. So here we go.
Did not expect to see that this morning. Kind of a busy Friday for news.
Very busy Friday.
Also in baseball, two-time AL Cy Young Award winner Corey Kluber has announced his retirement after a 13-year career. Of course, he's been battling injuries, but of course had a really good year there with Cleveland in 2014. He won it again in 2017. It's not a crazy long career. 13 years is a good bit.
How many wins in 13 years?
Let's finishes with a 116-77 record.
Not Hall of Fame stuff. Had he stayed perfectly healthy, might have been.
Yeah. I mean,
because let's argue that he gets one more Cy Young. If you get 3 Cy Youngs in a career, you're in a pretty limited group of people.
Yeah, you're in the conversation. I mean, at least. So Corey Kluber has retired. We've got Griff coming on, talk a little SEC hoops. Vandy is in Columbia tomorrow to play South Carolina. Carolina 14-point favorites. Alabama at LSU. Auburn, tough one down in Gainesville. I'm interested in those two. Alabama and Auburn after a huge emotional game. Are they at their best? Because, you really can't afford to drop.
Because there's a lot of emotion.
Right. So both teams going on the road for games they should win, but it's not going to be easy. Kentucky welcomes in Gonzaga in kind of a weird matchup.
Well, if you remember,
so the bye, is this the bye?
Well,
because I heard, I was talking to somebody, they brought up the fact that this is Kentucky's bye, and they're using it to bring in, because every SEC team gets that bye week, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's what
there was doing. A time where, if I remember the story correctly, around COVID, Calipari was a part of a statewide telethon kind of deal.
Oh, yeah.
And Mark Few at Gonzaga was a contributor, and then sort of offhanded said, when are we going to play each other?
Yeah.
And that's how all this happened. And if I also remember, there was a point where Nashville was rumored to be the site of one of those games.
Yeah, we brought that up at some point last year, I guess, early last year.
Yeah.
Is when this kind of got brought up. So they're now playing, I guess. I don't know if they'll be at Gonzaga next year or if this is a home and home or not for them. But Kentucky is
likely Key Arena.
Key Arena, right.
Because, whatever Key Arena is now, that may not be the name of it, but Gonzaga's thing is kind of a little 5,000 seat cracker box.
Yeah.
And if you're taking Kentucky out there, you'll need that just for the mist.
Yeah. They'd find their way into any gym.
Oh, it's amazing.
I did ask Cal on because he was in the same room after Stack, and I kind of asked, what's it like walking into a road game and your fans are taking over the building? He said, these fans are crazy. We were at Arkansas and South Carolina earlier this year, and after the game, I'm getting "Go Big Blue, go Cats, Coach," and I'm like, where'd these people come from? Like, how did they find their way in here?
Billy, I'll never forget. I've talked about this before, but when the SEC basketball tournament was at the Georgia Dome virtually every year, and it was sort of, they nicknamed it Catlanta.
Yep.
And there was a game where Catlanta was playing somebody, and it was right after Arkansas got put in the league. And nobody quite knew what was what, other than you looked way up at the top, and there sure seemed to be a lot of red.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, Arkansas's team comes into the floor of the arena waiting for the Kentucky game to end, and they start calling the Hogs. And I'm like, oh my God, there's a fan base here ready to go toe-to-toe with Kentucky. Truthfully, it hadn't really worked out that way.
No, it hasn't. I mean, Nashville, Kentucky has at least 80% every game.
Catville.
I'll be interested this year if Kentucky loses early like they did last year and Tennessee finds their way in the championship, how much orange gets in. Because last year,
you know the answer.
A lot. Last year, you saw a lot of Alabama. All that red, you saw a lot of red get in. But no fan base dominates it quite like Kentucky. Georgia and Arkansas also tomorrow. Tennessee is in College Station, 7 o'clock ESPN tomorrow night, which I think will be trickier than they think. A&M is desperate.
Wait a minute, Tennessee's at A&M tomorrow?
Yeah.
Where did I think they were at Missouri?
No, that's Mississippi State is at Missouri.
Okay,
tomorrow
well,
night.
somebody else can watch that.
Yeah. But no, I mean that's not going to be easy.
No,
for
never
Tennessee.
is.
We'll,
That's a
A&M
pulling teeth when
and
you go down there.
Yeah, this would be a quad one win for A&M if they can get it. Tennessee is rolling though right now, so we'll get Griff on to talk all about that.
He's waiting in the on-deck circle. Got a lot to talk to him about, including what changes around Tennessee's program now that they've gone to Rupp and shown the country, here's what we can be when we are on our A game. Of course, you don't always bring your A game every night, but on that particular night, it was A++. We're out of here. We go to the break, and then Mark Griffin on the backside.
It was the most horrible experience that any mother could ever go through. I knew that I needed to get help. My friend, she immediately said, "You need to call Bart Durham." And you guys were there within an hour. You guys are like family for us.
Yeah, sure is nice to connect with the people that you're doing your best to help.
As the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donnelly Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com.
I'm Watson Brown.
I'm Kelly Holcomb.
I'm Billy Derrick.
We're the George Plaster Show. We've been Nashville's best sports talk for the last 30 years. And you know what? We still are.
Catch us live weekdays from 2 to 4 p.m. Central Time in Nashville on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. Also, the podcast version is available on Spotify and Apple Podcasts.
Looking for more than just awards and trophies? Southern Trophy House is your one-stop solution. For over 60 years, their team has created lasting impressions with a personalized touch. From embroidery to screen-printed apparel to corporate awards, signs, and name badges, they have everything you need to keep your brand shining bright. With their knowledgeable customer service team, you can relax as they create, produce, pack, and ship merchandise and awards on time and on budget. That includes etched crystal awards, custom-cut acrylic name badges, embroidered Richardson ball caps, banners, screen-printed T-shirts, laser-engraved Yeti cups, and knives. Recognize your hard-working team from Southern Trophy House, where they do their best to help you recognize your best. Located at 2705 Nolensville Pike in Nashville, give them a holler, 615-256-7295. Visit southerntrophy.com. Southern Trophy House, for all your personalization and recognition needs. It is a rainy Friday if you're watching this live. All you got to do if you're in and around Middle Tennessee is go outside. You'll see it. But it's a good time to talk hoops And who better to do it with than former University of Tennessee star Mark Griffin. Mark, how are you?
Got rained on, George. So you're exactly right. A lot of rain here in Middle Tennessee. Just got home. Excited to be on the show. Lots to talk about.
Okay, let's start with your school for a minute, because they're coming off an LSU win where they just simply took care of business. But then there was the one last Saturday that's had everybody talking. I'm going to toss a scenario in a minute, but let me ask this question. If I said to you, how many teams on the Division I level today are capable of getting to the Final Four, what would your answer be?
Wow. George, I'm glad you asked this question. I haven't prepared for this, but all the games I've watched throughout the season, and, I'm taping games at night, watching them in the morning. Of all the 362 teams out there, I would say the ones who could make it to the Final Four, I'd say less than 10.
Okay. I went mentally with 15, but you may well be right.
I don't know.
Who knows? It's a small number.
Small number. One of the small. I think it's a small number, but yet to me, there's only two teams that really stand out amongst the others, and that's UConn and Purdue, in my opinion. Now, anybody can get beat any night, as we know, but they definitely have some advantages that other teams don't have that they've maximized throughout the season. And I think those are the two that really stand out more than the others.
Follow with me on this. I'm assuming when Tennessee got home from Lexington that Sunday was a day of rest and that perhaps on Monday they met up for the first time since then. And I'm wondering if Barnes, in a meeting with his team, said, guys, let's cut the crap. Now everybody in the country knows how dangerous we can be. Everybody knows that if we're on our A game, we can go to Rupp and win. Not many people can say that.
Right.
And then maybe looked around the room and said, Josiah Jordan James, if you give me close to that every night, we're a Final Four. We're legit. We don't have to beat around the bush of we'd like to get to the Elite Eight. We want to get to the second weekend. Screw it. We're Final Four. Do you think he did that?
I think he did without mentioning Final Four or Elite Eight. I don't think many coaches look that far as sharing with their team, with their players. Now, I may be wrong. I don't know what Barnes says in the locker room, but I guarantee you he's definitely letting guys know that they can be a much better team than what they have in the past and have a target on their back, and that they've got to continually work together to improve for the next opponent, which can lead to higher level of attainment postseason at some point. But I think that they really keep it more of a short-term prospect of how far they can advance as far as the wins column. And even on top of that, just getting better as a team, because what you saw against Kentucky was, I believe, George, 5 starters in double figures, and you didn't have people like we talked about last week watching Connect do his thing and not going after loose balls or going to the board for offensive rebounds. And Josiah James, to me, is the X factor. I don't expect him to have 26 points a game moving forward, but if he could give you 12 and 6 rebounds and 30 minutes a game of, he always brings solid defense, then it's going to spread. That's just going to spread. The confidence is going to build. Winning at Rupp is huge, and I guarantee you he'll be talking about that on their road trip to College Station to say, hey, you can win in Rupp. You can play together. You can win here. It's going to be an ugly game to me, and I'll describe that later. But they're going to have to just stick together and gel and continue to improve, George.
Okay. Follow with me on this because you're probably like, where in the hell's he going with this?
You never know with you, George.
Okay. February is the month where things start to separate. There had to have been a moment in February a year ago where an FAU who never sniffed a Final Four, never dreamed of a Final Four, there had to be some moment where FAU was like, we're pretty damn good.
Yeah.
And we need to start acting like it. Well, Tennessee, which has had a rich basketball tradition, has never been to a Final Four.
No.
And it seems to me like this was a stamp that maybe is the y'all better start believing and setting the bar higher.
Yeah.
Tell me what you think.
Well, I think there's two ways you can look at it within the, let's say, organization, within the team, and then outside. Of course, the players are mainly going to be focused amongst themselves, concerning themselves. And I like to focus on that standpoint. I think that the guys have had individual meetings with Coach Barnes to say, hey, what are my roles? How can I help? What can I do? How can I ensure that I'm maximizing my talent to help my teammates? That's been well documented. I think that going back to chemistry, and you have to define what chemistry is. It's doing the little things. It's pushing each other in practice to say, hey, you still haven't done anything yet. Yes, winning in Rupp, big confidence builder, and the media is going to eat it up, especially at the end of the season. You're going to hear more and more about quad one wins, and they're going to say, which ones were the big wins? What's going to have a big A at Kentucky for Tennessee next to it? You can book it, George. It's going to be a graphic, and they're going to have other teams up there as well. But that's just important in building that confidence to sustain, because let's face it, we don't know if Tennessee is going to win tomorrow, and they may lose other games as well as other teams. But it's that mindset of, hey, when we click, when we hustle, when we got each other's back, when we communicate, we can beat anyone. And you have to have that mindset. So it's really a mindset in that locker room, George, that they've got to block out distractions and build on the little things to continue to move forward.
Okay, let's go to Kentucky, because they're not used to what happened last Saturday.
No.
And so I kind of wondered, what will their mental state of mind be when they come to Nashville? Well, first of all, it was very good.
Yes.
They shot lights out. They ran into a Vandy that about midway through the first half became very disinterested in the whole process. Bad body language. Tyron Lawrence looked to me like he checked out.
Yeah,
and then in the second half,
George, same story, different night.
Yeah, and then in the second half, the entire team checked out.
Yeah,
and they got their ass handed to them.
Yeah.
They had 12 dunks. I mean, not a ton of great effort, but on Kentucky's end, you see the natural talent.
Yes.
And you also know what's holding them back is they're not as good defensively. As pathetic as Vandy is, they got some wide open threes and at times hit them. So here's what I want to know. Kentucky's a team with a lot of individual talent.
Yes.
In a month to 6 weeks' time, can they go from what they are defensively, which is not very good, and some of it's Calipari's fault, because his decision to go with Reed Shepherd against Ezra Mannion to start the game is a joke.
A joke.
And I'm like, are you really that stupid?
Yeah.
You believe that matchup will work? But what I'm getting at, I kind of got sidetracked there, is can a team this late in the year improve that much on the defensive end to get to a point where they could be one of those teams that you have to throw in that pile?
That's a tough one. I'll share this with you. Usually your defense starts off ahead of your offense when you begin the season. and your offense starts to click. Defense is usually the standard. Because defense, George, let's face it, defense a lot of the time is effort.
It's absolutely effort.
Effort. It's
rebounding is effort.
But you know what it is, though? It's 5 people's effort. If you have 4 playing and one's concerned about going out on the break and getting a layup during a rebound, then that's not getting it done, and it's a deflator. And I think rebounds, defense wins championships. And if you're not going to buy into defense now, I think it's hard to really say we're going to start getting this done on February 22nd or when the tournament starts. Because if it's not embedded in you now on a daily basis, I don't know where you get that. Offense, I think, clicks later in the season even. I think that evolves more. So what you're going to see is even future opponents are going to get better offensively. And if Kentucky stays the same defensively, they're going to be on decline overall because the offense is going to pass them up. What I don't see are players on the floor. I don't see players in each other's face and getting onto them as they could and should to empower them to play even harder. Because you have one thing that Kentucky has, George, is they've got depth. So if a player, and the players are taught this, give me 4 minutes, because you got the 4 minute, every 4 minutes you have a TV timeout. Go out there and bust your hump for 4 minutes, 100% effort. But coaches shouldn't have to coach effort on defense. If the players could buy into that, then there could be a change. Now, the interesting thing is, like you mentioned before with Coach Calipari, maybe that's not one of their pillars. It's like, we're going to be a great defensive player. He may say that on the air, but it's definitely not displayed when you watch them live, George.
How much better will they get when they can get Wagner back and Reed Sheppard moves into more of an instant offense role off the bench?
I mean, they can be better, but how much? I don't know how much more significant it is with Wagner back because of the talent level they have now. I mean, whose minutes is he taking? I mean, that's what you got to really evaluate is if Wagner comes in, is he taking who? Antonio Reeves minutes? Is he taking, you go down the roster of what the matchups are going to be. And I'm not taking anything from Wagner. We're going to be watching them next year in the NBA. But you got to look at matchups. Once again, I don't mind you overusing the word chemistry and what it means, because it is the key, is the chemistry of the guys that are on the court who's got each other's back. Now, he will help, but someone's minutes are not going to be there. But that's also a motivating factor. I mean, people in basketball and any sport know what motivates you most is when you're sitting on the bench, because you can't prove your wealth and what you can do for the team if you're sitting on the bench. So that should inspire everyone that wears the big blue or any uniform that while you're out there, give the effort. I mean, you don't have to be scoring 30-something points. Just play hard on defense, make things happen. It's contagious.
Okay, Tennessee goes to College Station tomorrow night, and I've got one phrase that's going through my mind when you play A&M. Root canal.
I was going to say ugly.
Yeah, it's a root canal. I mean, I don't think they're as good as everybody thought they were going to be.
No.
But when you play them there, it's never a lot of fun.
No, and I've watched several games at College Station on TV, and I love watching Wade Taylor, but it's which version do you get? And let's face it, George, the game begins and ends with Wade Taylor IV, preseason player of the year, not having the season that he had last year, but not to take away from his talent. But George, they've really struggled. Now Wade Taylor's averaging almost 20 points a game. But here's the interesting thing about A&M that stands out that I want the listeners to watch tomorrow that will view this game. Texas A&M, they lead the SEC in rebound. I'm sorry, they're second in the country in rebounding. But here's what's interesting. They're 351st out of 362 in field goal shooting. So that's one reason they're leading the country in rebounding, because they're rebounding bad shots. So you got to look at how badly they're playing from the field, and their 3-point field goal percentage is even worse. There's 4 teams below them in the country, George, in 3-point percentage. They're shooting 29%. So if I'm UT, I'm backing into the lane. I'm saying, look, take your shots, make them hit a few, and then you make adjustments. But right now, it's not working for A&M. But what Tennessee is going to have to do, and this is going to be a challenge, is A&M goes to the boards better than any team in the country, and 2 guys stand out: Anderson Garcia, 6'7", Henry Coleman, 6'8", nothing but muscle, and they're quick. And that's what concerns me for tomorrow is, can Adu get a body on somebody? Can Awaka, which is really a Waka, but he whacks you when he's in the game, can he not foul every time he tries to block out? I think that's going to be a major concern.
Okay, I want to throw an Auburn thought at you. When Alabama and Auburn have gotten together this year, I thought Alabama would win in Tuscaloosa, and I thought Auburn would win at Auburn. But what happened a couple of nights ago was more than just a home court. Auburn drubbed Alabama. Yeah. So what do we now make of Auburn going forward if they have this kind of ability to drub Alabama?
Well, you don't hear this said anytime when Coach Pearl is coaching about his team, that they are a defensive team. I don't have the stats on me right now, George, but I believe they're leading the SEC or second, if not first, in defensive field goal percentage. I want to say they're either first or second, right there with UT. That's never happened since Pearl's been coaching at Auburn. Now, when you think of Auburn basketball, what do you think of? Fast break, up and down.
3-point field goals.
3-point field goal. They've got Jahani Broom in there, just could eat up the rebounds and get. I mean, he literally could get 30 points a game if they went inside to him, and they don't. It's perplexing. Jay Williams, who I love, that does SEC ball now, was like, "Get the damn ball into Broom." I mean, quote on one of the recent telecasts, and I love how they play the freedom. But it's hit or miss with Auburn. I'm even going to predict that Florida beats Auburn tomorrow. Now, once again, I'm not a betting man, but I just feel that they're a much different team on the road than at home. But I think even with Auburn, it's at a different level. They are so good at home, but you don't know who shows up when they're on the road. And George, if you're jacking up 3-pointers, that's a much riskier game plan than getting the ball inside and then creating something inside and then dishing out to your guards. I just think it's a risky play this weekend, and I think Florida comes out ahead.
Okay, we'll stop there, and then when we come back, we'll kind of take it where you want to go. I'll look to you to be the quarterback, and I will instead be the backup.
Sounds good.
I can't get hit that way. Let's see where we go right after this.
Hit After Hit has become the baseball store in Tennessee. They have over 1,000 different models of gloves and over 1,500 wood bats. They also have several Iron Mike pitching machines as well as a Hit Tracks machine. If they don't have it, you probably don't need it. We're proud to call Hit After Hit the official shirt provider of the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night.
Forget the fact that Sir Speedy Music City is owned by my BGA classmate James Warren. Their work stands on its own merit. James and his staff do incredible work, as evidenced by the huge banners at the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night. If you're looking for quality to help your marketing and business communications, and you want it at a reasonable price, these are your folks. Call them at 615-832-9511 or go to print at sirspeedymusiccity.com. And be sure to tell them Plaz sent you.
For over 35 years, Wilson Bank & Trust has been committed to providing customized banking solutions to help individuals, families, and businesses in Tennessee achieve their goals. As your full-service community bank, we are proud to offer loans with competitive rates, local decision-making, and fast, friendly service from our experienced lenders. No matter where you are on your financial journey, Wilson Bank & Trust is ready to help you take the next step. Visit your nearest Wilson Bank & Trust office or online at wilsonbank.com to get started today. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Over the years, more men have started to seek help for hormone deficiencies and imbalances, and Dr. Jeffrey Lodge and wife Daphne, along with their experienced staff, give men the treatment required to improve their quality of life, improve your immune system, energy level, cognitive function, and more. There's no better time to achieve a healthy lifestyle. What are you waiting for? Give Cool Springs MD a call today for an appointment at 615-486-3458 or visit the website coolspringsmd.com.
Convenience and value, two words that we expect when we do business. Our goal at JHA Company is to deliver just that, both to our school partners and to our customers. Whether you're purchasing photos, yearbooks, class jewelry, letter jackets, school spirit wear, or senior graduation products, we strive to make the experience easy, convenient, and cost-effective. Find out more at jhacompany.com or call 615-867-6345 for more information. JHA, one source, one company.
Okay, this is basically Mark Griffin's segment. I just back out and say, okay, where are we going?
All right. Well, then I'll let Billy hit the next button then, and I'll know where to roll. There we go.
Okay.
Thanks, Billy.
Rankings.
Yep.
Talk me through the weekly changes here.
Yeah, the biggest changes, and I like to go through this each week. Once again, it's a nice snapshot of where the SEC teams are faring in the net ranking, which is vitally important each week, every weekend, every game. And a couple of things are starting to play out here. You're seeing a righting of the ship, per se, of when you look at the top 7 teams, for example, looking to be pretty much a lock for the NCAA tournament moving forward, I think, unless something really bad happens to Mississippi State. I still get a little concerned with Mississippi State and having enough players that score outside of Tolu Smith and the Shepherd kid. I think it's Shepherd, excuse me. But they have a really good, the freshman guard that's just been lighting it up. And outside of those individuals, I'm a little concerned with Mississippi State. Texas A&M is number 8, has always been perplexing because preseason SEC, George, you may remember this, they were picked second.
Oh, sure.
Behind Tennessee. And yet their record's not great, but they're still a 46 in the net. Now, one thing, losing to Tennessee would really hurt, I believe, Texas A&M's net. And if on the flip side,
oh yeah,
for Texas A&M to beat Tennessee, they get a quad 1 win. And remember, and we'll get more into the number of quad wins down the road, but getting towards the end of the season, you're starting to see fewer opportunities for these huge quad 1 wins, and Texas A&M has a big opportunity tomorrow.
A&M should treat tomorrow like their Super Bowl.
No, you know what? You're exactly right. And I really feel if there's any pressure or if Buzz Williams is feeling any pressure to share with them, when like you always say the next game is the biggest, but this really is the biggest, I think, for A&M. And the fans are going to be really into it. They have, great fan base that come to the game. It'll be ugly, but if you win, you don't mind winning ugly. And I'm just really looking forward to that. And then once again, Ole Miss, I like the makeup of Ole Miss even better than Mississippi State right now. I just really do. I mean, I think Coach Beard does an excellent job. Got a lot of talented transfers. They're really going to be tough at home. And then it separates. So what I like to say with the bottom four, those are your Wednesday night hotel reservation teams in Nashville, because that's what's going to be happening, is they're going to be booking a reservation to play on that initial night. As you know, George, the bottom four play, in which there's not many people normally there.
And the two winners will serve as cannon fodder on Thursday.
Yes.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So that's how I like to break that down. As far as movers and shakers, the biggest one was, believe it or not, from last week to this week, Georgia moved up. They went down from 82 to 88, so going in the wrong direction, which is unfortunate for them because they've been playing pretty well, but just not well enough to get some big wins.
South Carolina jumped Mississippi State too, not by much, but Carolina finally starting to get the respect they deserve.
Good Lord. Right. They're about 3 weeks late to the party.
Yeah. And what's interesting, I'll throw this out. Now, I may be crazy, but if there's a team, and I know Vanderbilt's playing South Carolina this weekend. This is weird, I know. I think Vanderbilt matches up pretty well against South Carolina based on the pace of the game. It's a guard-oriented game for South Carolina.
Not freakishly athletic.
Not freakishly athletic. You don't have inside presence with South Carolina, significant inside presence. You've got a lot of guard play. If their guards don't play well, I really see this game in the 60s. And if Vanderbilt can play them in the 60s, George, I know it's on the road, but we've seen what Vanderbilt has done at Memphis. What was it, a 1-point game, I believe, a loss. I really feel that Vanderbilt, even 13.5 to me is really high. Once again, maybe crazy, maybe the weather. But I really feel that this is a game that Vanderbilt can really give them a game on the road. So,
okay, where else we going?
Let's go with Billy.
Let's go with nothing but net. And
nothing but net. Yes,
make that adjustment here with Cincinnati.
A team that doesn't feel anywhere as good as some of the Cincinnati glory teams. But all of a sudden you look and they've made enough noise to be last four in. Mark, take it from there.
Well, I did some research. When I look at the nothing but net, it's exactly that. It's teams that you don't normally think, wow, this is a team that's in the running for the tournament. And you see in today's update of Lenardi bracketology, last four in. So they're hovering, they're in the bubble. What stood out to me, you've got a really fine young coach in Wes Miller, third season with Cincinnati, moving from the AAC to the Big 12 initial season. They were ranked 11th out of 14 the preseason. But what they've turned around to do is have a 15-7 record. But this is the big thing, and this is what I know that really, really inspires the players and the coaching staff. When you look at a record that's not what they want, but 6 of their 7 losses, guys, were by 5 points or less. They've only lost to one team by double digits. Now, knowing that as a student athlete, if you're wearing the Cincinnati uniform, it tells you this: we're in every game. We've got a shot in every game, and we've come up short, but we've showed we can compete in the Big 12.
Okay, when they get in the room, does the committee care about that? I mean, moral victory kind of attitude?
I definitely think when you're slicing and dicing, you look at not only their record, But I feel, and I'm not a committee member. I don't know anybody. It's like the NCAA. I don't know anybody there. But I still think that they look at your losses and they look to see, how badly they were. It may not be an extent. It may be if you're picking between one team or another. But the bottom line is this. They've got a great 15-7 record. They've got Houston tomorrow. So I wanted to get them in this week because the importance of having Houston tomorrow, they're hosting Houston, which will build this game up even more.
The old Shoemaker Center will be rocking.
Oh, yeah.
That's right. They get that quad one win against Houston, then they're in. They'll move up at this time. If they lose, then they're going to drop right out. So they're a bubble team hovering back and forth. I thought it was worth mentioning that there's still excitement in Cincinnati.
That
By
Big
the way,
12 is nuts.
It's a murderer's
unbelievable.
row. I mean, it's the NBA Atlantic.
Yeah.
By the way, next Friday after your hour, we will have a committee member on. Martin Newton is on the selection committee, athletic director at Samford. And, I don't know this. I'm wondering if it's the first time we've ever had a father-son duo on that committee. CM was the chair in 98, and now Martin is a part of that committee. Anyway.
That's great.
Yeah, looking forward to that. Okay, there's something else you've got. So instruct Billy where?
MUP. Most underappreciated player, and this was great timing as well because the Vols are playing against Anderson Garcia tomorrow. When you look at Texas A&M's team, and the reason I picked this individual is you've got scores. He's not a scorer. He's only averaging 6 points a game. Okay, you've got Wade Taylor at fourth in the conference. You've got Radford, who's averaging 14 points, great score. I think the last 2 games he's had 20 points apiece. But when they're shooting so badly, who is the guy deflecting the rebounds and getting the rebounds offensively? The hardest working individual who is 6'7" or under is Anderson Garcia. He's leading the SEC in rebounds, guys, at 8.9 a game. And nobody knows who he is, hardly. I mean, people at College Station may not even know Anderson Garcia. I actually know him. He went to Hamilton Heights in Chattanooga for a little bit, but he has had a tremendous season inside, and he battles. He's quick, and that's why it concerns me. He's just around the ball at all times, like a magnet. And that's one of my big concerns for UT is, can you block him out because of his quickness? I've seen him on rebounds rebounding when people are at the free throw line, the A&M teammates, and he's able to even tap it back. He's great at tapping the ball back to give his teammates a good chance of receiving the ball. And I just love how hard he plays, and I think he's one of the most underappreciated players in the conference.
Now, granted, this was against Houston Christian, but he had 19 rebounds against them earlier this season. So
last game
he wasn't very Christian toward them.
No.
Okay, rapid fire. Kansas at home, 5 over Baylor.
Kansas. I wasn't as big on Kansas, and since they're at home, I feel better. The Furphy kid from down under adds a great dimension to this team because now you've got an added shooter who is big, and believe it or not, it's on some NBA draft boards already. And I think he's maybe averaging 8 points a game, but lots of talent. I think he helps with the big guy inside, Dickinson and McCullough. And the thing about Kansas, if you can get Kansas in foul trouble, you've got a shot because they got me on the bench.
I
mean, exactly, George.
Yeah.
So,
okay, here are a couple more rapid fire.
Do it.
Houston -5.5 at Cincinnati.
Woo! I just got through loving on Cincinnati, but I'm going to say Houston because I just think it's the hardest working team in the country defensively.
Yeah.
And they're all about each other.
Okay, Tennessee minus 4.5 at A&M.
I think it's an ugly game. I think Tennessee wins that by around 10. I think they do. I think for Tennessee to win, they've got to block out. They've got to block out, and they've got to block out, and they've got to get to the line as well and get to the free throw line and get. If they get Texas A&M in foul trouble, they'll be in great shape because once again, not a lot of depth, especially inside.
Okay, I believe Kentucky minus 4 at home at Rupp against Gonzaga is a codlock cinch.
Yeah, I agree. What's interesting, Mark Few's been at Gonzaga since 1999. He's been to the NCAA tournament every season there was a tournament minus COVID year. He didn't have time. He didn't need time to rebuild a program, George. He built that program year one. I see Kentucky beating them badly, and Gonzaga, but they're 0-5 in quad one games right now.
Yeah.
They only have 3 more quad one games left. That's not saying a lot to that committee. So point to Martin.
They're not winning at Rupp.
Talk about Gonzaga with him because just because the name, their record, even though their record, I think they're 17-6. They have 0 quad one wins.
Overrated.
Yeah. They got talent too.
They do. They do. I'm not being fair. Mark,
terrible
thank you as always. Good stuff.
Thank you, guys.
Talk to you soon. Great hour with Mark Griffin. Man, good basketball stuff.
Mm-hmm.
After the break, stat of the day, we're likely to bomb. We know it. And then Coach Watson Brown will join us. A lot to talk about. There's a Super Bowl, by the way, Sunday. And there's a Chip Kelly leaving UCLA as head coach to become offensive coordinator at Ohio State. Reading the tea leaves, he was one step ahead of the posse. We will talk with Watson about that when we come back. Venture Express has been helping people in this area for more than 40 years. They're headquartered in Murfreesboro with over 30 years of dedicated fleets involving production, manufacturing, and corrugated experiences. They're an asset-based company with over 700 tractors, 4,000 trailers, and 800 drivers. If you need their help, dial them up 615-793-9500 or log on to ventureexpress.com. Star Physical Therapy was established in 1997 with one great mission: to serve. If you're hurting, don't wait to receive physical therapy. You don't need a referral to see their physical therapist, and early morning and evening appointments are available. Make the call to 615-673.
You were in a crash.
Yeah.
Your kids were in the car with you.
We're very lucky to even be telling this story to you. Nikki treated us like family, and she was very caring and loving, and I'm just so grateful for that. She was somebody I could trust, and being a veteran, that's so important to me. My kids are going to have a better life now because I don't have to worry about those expenses that we were out. Your family has really created a legacy of trust, and I would recommend you to anyone.
You know, starting to save for your future doesn't have to be difficult. Let Wilson Bank and Trust help tone up your financial goals this year. Our certificates of deposits or CDs can help your money work harder with our competitive rates, earning you more than ever before. WBT checking options allow you to earn rewards you can really use, like a high interest rate or cash back on check card purchases when you meet some e-banking qualifications. Visit your closest Wilson Bank and Trust office or online at wilsonbank.com to get started today. Member FDIC.
Top of the hour on a Friday, final football Friday of the year. A little sad, but we got the coach coming up next. Coach Watson Brown will talk a variety of things. But first, stat of the day brought to you by John English Antique Sports and Cards out in Shelbyville. They're open during the week, Tuesday through Friday from noon to 5, and Saturdays from 10 a.m. to 5. Give them a call, 931-492-4304. All right, George, no Kelly. Not sure that's a big burden, but here we go. Last night, Kevin Stefanski became the second youngest head coach in NFL history to win the Coach of the Year award twice. Who is the only head coach to win multiple Coach of the Year awards at a younger age than him?
Mike Tomlin in Pittsburgh.
That's your guess?
That's my guess.
Any others?
Nope.
That's it?
That's it.
All right. You are incorrect.
Oh,
It is
gosh.
Don Shula.
You know, he was very young when he got hired in Baltimore, and then he made the move. Joe Robbie offered him a boatload of money to go to Miami, and the rest is history. Mike Tomlin, good guess, not good enough.
Thought it was a Cadillac cinch.
No, I nothing about stat of the day is a Codlock cinch.
That's true.
So we've entered into the 3 o'clock hour, and Watson Brown is with us from Cookeville. Watson, how are you?
George, I'm doing good. Good to talk to you, gentlemen. Today.
Same here.
And by the way, it's easy for me to say, I know, but I knew that one. I wasn't asked. I knew the answer to that one.
Billy, put it back up there. No,
just wasn't asked, but I did know that one.
Did you really?
Yeah, I knew that one. I don't know why, but I did know that one.
Well, why didn't you just scream to the hinterlands? I know it
because I wasn't on.
You didn't ask to phone him, George.
No, I
didn't click me in. It's usual. You just cut me off.
Give him yesterday.
Some things never change.
Okay, give him yesterday since he's on such a roll.
No. I ain't getting into this because I ain't worth a flip at it. Finally, I know one, and you click me out. So I didn't shoot.
It's a bitter world. So
it's a bitter world. That's what it is.
When I asked you yesterday to come on today, a lot of it obviously we'll get to the Super Bowl, but I didn't think it was going to be Chip Kelly. Is this simply with the news that he's going to Ohio State, him saying they were about to fire me, I can't take it much farther here, they're eventually going to get me, so I'm getting the hell out?
Absolutely. And not that they were going to fire him this year, but I think he didn't see a light at the end of the tunnel, and he knew the competition was getting stiffer. And I'm not sure any of those Pac-12 coaches are excited about this, George. The travel, the things they're fixing to have to do. I don't think any of them are excited about it. But that's the way it is. And Ohio State got a good one. They got a better offensive coordinator than they had in O'Brien, in my personal opinion. This guy, I've been there, I visited with him. He's sharp as a tack, and I really believe now that he's not a head coach and he goes back and just runs offenses that Ohio State's fixing to take a step up.
Does his stuff fit what they really want to do?
He does a lot of different stuff. He's left the stuff that I studied with him. He's left it. I don't know why. He left the pace, the short number of plays, all of the different things that it was fun for me to study. He's left, and he went more toward the pro route. And then he goes back to college, and he kind of hits a little bit of an in-between with it. But so I'm anxious to see what he does, and I'm anxious to see what Ryan Day lets him do. But if I'm him, I go back and go back to what I was doing in the Mariota days, and that's what I would do.
So you've been an athletic director. You're sitting there at UCLA in early February, which is about 6 weeks past the very end of real hiring cycle. How do you go about getting one that fits the description of UCLA and not Lehigh, because it seems to me a lot of people would be sitting there saying, yeah, in normal times I'd be interested, but not in February.
I think it's going to be really hard. And the underlying piece that I think that's a part of this that Chip Kelly knows is they're in financial trouble. And that don't help the situation any. When you got to go explain to another guy you're wanting to bring in, and basically what you got to do as an AD is you go recruit one to bring in, and they may not have the pieces to recruit the guy with. So what I think he'll do is he's gonna hunt somebody he wants and take a few weeks to do that, and if not, hire somebody within and get through the year and then go from there. That's the route I think. If I was the AD out there, that's the route I'd go.
Okay, I don't think we've had you discuss at all what's going on with Tennessee in the NCAA.
Yeah.
Here's one of the wild cards to me. Danny White has always been, as an AD, pretty non-conventional, outside of the box, kind of a live wire. And it seems to me since he's gotten there that they've become a lot more combative about whatever it is they've done right or wrong.
I would say you're right. I think what Tennessee has done is they've pushed the envelope as far as they felt like they could push it and be legal. I don't think anybody would go out in today's times and just know you're not doing something right. But I don't know what's legal and hidden, and I'm not sure anybody does. And if and I don't think they will, if they get Tennessee on something, then get about another 20 or 30 to go along with them, because I think everybody's doing the same stuff. And it would remind me, if that's the case, of the Southwest Conference that I was in when it went down. I was right there when the Southwest Conference went down. They got one, then they got another, then they got another, and then the conference went away. So I just can't see how the NC2A can pull this off in any shape, form, or fashion with such vague rules. The one rule that I hear from coaches that really upsets other coaches is tampering with players before they're in the portal.
And they're all doing it.
Yeah, that's the only thing I hear, George, that coaches are saying is illegal. Everything else with this collective stuff, I just don't see how in the world can you say the NC2A is saying, well, I understand it. The NC2A is saying, well, there's a plane flight thing, but here we go again. I went to the university. I was flown to the University of Alabama in the 60s 6 times. 6 times. So, I mean, give me a break. I think what the NC2A is trying to say is you're giving this kid his package before he gets on campus. How in the world do you do that? How can you not do that?
Exactly.
It would be like somebody trying to hire me as the football coach, George, but not telling me what they're going to pay me till I've signed the contract and I'm on campus. I just don't see that. That makes no sense to me whatsoever. How does a kid pick where he's going to go if he doesn't know what he's getting? And now it's sad, but now this is a money thing, and it's not wanting to play for this football team or wanting to get a degree from this university. All that's gone. That was the clean process that we all loved. And, man, he's coming to Alabama because he thinks he can be a great quarterback there, and he wants to play for the University of Alabama. Those days are gone. Now it's money. What are you going to pay me? That's the first thing asked, and every coach I talk to tells me that. The first thing a kid says now in high school or the portal is, well, what am I going to make? And so how in the world do you go after Tennessee with that? Do you think any of these people that are talking to these high school or transfer quarterbacks, that's not discussed before they ever even get anywhere into how deep they're going to go with this university. It's ridiculous what I'm hearing.
Watson Tark just spoke to me and said that they're so mad at Kentucky that they've added an extra year on Cleveland State.
I knew that was coming.
So
we've heard that one. We've heard that one for 20 years now, maybe longer than that.
I've got to come up with new material. So here's
I
one
love
of the.
it. I still start laughing as soon as you say. As soon as I hear you say Tark, I start laughing because here it comes.
So Watson, here's one of the things that I hear is going on in the name of tampering. And by the way, I think virtually every school in America is tampering in some form or fashion. They're all doing it. But one of the ways they're doing it to, quote, get around the rules is X team will play Y team. Okay? And Y team thinks they're going to win, but they've picked out a player on X team that they really would love to have. And so at the end of the game, players on Y go up to X and say, hey, by the way, we're really interested in you. Just wanted you to know that.
And that goes way back. That goes way back. A lot of schools used to have a player on their team that knew the player that they were interested in on another team, or played with a guy in high school, or played against the guy in high school. Have the player call the player and say those things. So, George, I don't doubt that whatsoever, and that's been going on in college football forever. As long as I was in the business, I heard that one.
Now let's get to the Super Bowl. Do you dare go against Patrick Mahomes?
I just can't, but I would be very nervous making this pick. I think it's going to be a great game, and one of the best ones we've had. And I would pick that, but man, I would sit nervous in the chair for the whole game because I just hard to go against these 49ers right now, especially when they're the underdog. That hasn't been happening here a lot lately. And so the Chiefs have been the underdog for the last few weeks. And now they're the favorites, and that makes me just a tad nervous. And how many times have we had somebody win back-to-back Super Bowls? It's hard to do. So I'm still going Chiefs, but I'm tad nervous about it.
Okay, let me toss this at you. First of all, I think Kansas City's going to win the game, but Exhibit A for me. Everybody's acting like San Fran is this Godzilla. Detroit ripped them a new one in the first half. Green Bay had them backed into a corner. Somebody is able to move the football against these people.
It's all off of the 49ers, in my personal opinion, are front runners. If they get the lead and they get going and you got to pass it to catch them, they kill you because they've got that great pass rush. And their linebackers are so athletic in space and secondary solid. But if you run the ball and you can run, throw in the first half and get them as the catch-up people, their offense ain't built to be a catch-up, and their defense is not built to stop the run. So the start of this game is going to be so big, in my opinion. If the 49ers are hot and they get off to a nice lead, they may be hard to catch.
Okay,
If the Chiefs get off to one, look out, because I'm not sure the 49ers will ever slow them down.
Watson, this almost sounds like NHL hockey. First goal wins whatever the percentage is.
I'm not sure it's first goal, but I'm saying a pretty good lead.
Okay.
A 2-score lead.
Got you. When this is all said and done, if San Fran had lost to either Green Bay or Detroit, what would Brock Purdy's status be going into next year?
Like any of them. When you hadn't won the big one yet, you're on the block that we discussed. Look at the poor guy at Jackson, 2-time MVP, and yet everybody is saying the same things. He'll never win the big one. It's sad, but it's what pro football has been, and now college football is becoming that because now all these colleges are running quarterback-oriented offenses. So it's now all on the quarterback, and the only way you judge QBs in the NFL for quite a few years now, and now in college, did you win the big ones or not? And so till you do, they're going to say you can't. And I think if he don't win tonight, he's still going to be on that same block to be discussed.
Watson,
or tomorrow night.
Watson, when do you start really considering Mahomes in the same conversation as Tom Brady being the greatest quarterback of all time? Are you already in that conversation? If he wins on Sunday, is that what kind of gets you going with that? Or does he have to win 2 more? Like, is he, where do you gauge that with Mahomes and how close he is with Brady?
And does anybody remember Joe Montana?
Yeah.
And how many did Joe win?
Wasn't it 4? Was it 4?
4, I think, yeah.
I don't know how many it was, but till you catch Joe, it's hard to say that, even though I think if he wins this one, and that's 3, correct?
Yeah.
That would be 3, and that would be 2 in a row. And that would be how many out of 3 out of 6? I think, isn't that right? With that many that early, I think if he wins Sunday, he's in the mix now. It's him and Joe for 2.
That would be 3 out of 6.
It's him and Joe for 2. That's when it's 3 out of 6, and he's still this young. I think he's in the mix now with Joe. But if he loses, no,
Watson.
This is a big one for Mahomes. Mm-hmm. And it's also big, George, because of this. I don't think Andy Reid's going to be there a lot longer, if maybe not even this one, but not a lot longer. And I think this is the exact deal with Brady and Belichick. I think it's taken both of them to get those 6 they got, and I think it's taken both of them are going to get the 3 that Mahomes gets if they win Sunday.
Interesting.
That's me. That's what I think.
When we do in the next segment, Billy and I will do my tale of the tape of the game. And the first thing that's out there is home field. And I didn't put it exactly down the middle because I think San Fran has a huge home field advantage with all those fans being close to Vegas. Does that become a big factor in the game?
Yes, it could. If it's tight, and especially in the second half, absolutely. And everything I'm hearing from Vegas, especially late in the week with all the fans starting to show now, it is heavy 49ers out there. Mm-hmm. So I agree with you, George. And different people have been saying that on television. Man, the later it gets this week, I'm seeing 49er people everywhere. So, yeah, especially second half in a tight game.
Watson,
that's why, guys, all this stuff I'm saying, George, that's why I say I'm nervous about this.
Yeah.
I'm nervous. I got the Chiefs. I've had them from 2 weeks or last week with you all, but I'm now getting a lot tighter about it. Thank goodness I ain't got no money on it.
What you got Gatorade color? Lemon lime, red, orange?
That may be. I don't know. That's me. It's 2 red teams playing, so I'm not sure.
Gosh.
Who makes that? I wonder who makes that decision.
I don't know.
KC's the home team.
Yeah, they are. They'll have the colors.
Yeah.
They will have the colors on them. Yep.
I'm glad. Those jerseys are beautiful.
Okay.
Isn't that neat, though, of the history of both of those? We've been watching those 2 play championships from all the way back in the AFL and NFL, George and Billy. We have. Both of those 2 teams go way back, man.
So your belief is it's going to be a really good game, and it's mine too.
I just think it may be the best one we've had. I really do.
Wow.
Because I think there'll be a lot of points scored here. I don't think this one's going to be one of those where it starts slow, and I think this one's going to come out the gate, and there's going to be points scored.
We'll talk.
Even though the Chiefs have not given up over 28 points in a game this whole season. I keep leaning toward that. They haven't given up over 28, and I think it's going to take more than that.
Okay, interesting. Monday, be there. Be with us,
there, buddy.
Yeah.
Can't wait.
We'll look forward to it. You have a good weekend.
See you guys.
See you, Coach.
Watson Brown joining us. Interesting thoughts about where the Super Bowl is going.
Yeah, he said this could be the best Super Bowl ever, or that we've seen. Is that
which is saying a lot because in recent years there was a big chunk of them in the 80s where the NFC dominated, and there were some real blowouts. Denver got beat by San Fran 55-10.
Oh my gosh!
Okay, nobody thinks this Super Bowl ends up 55-10.
Lord, hope not.
Yeah, I think we're headed for a good one. Tale of the Tape is coming up next. The George Plaster Show is Nashville's best sports talk, 2 to 4 p.m. Monday through Friday on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. There's a podcast version available on Spotify and Apple Podcast.
As the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donnelly Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com.
It was the most horrible experience that any mother could ever go through. I knew that I needed to get help. My friend, she immediately said, "You need to call Bart Durham." And you guys were there within an hour. You guys are like family for us.
Yeah, sure is nice to connect with the people that you're doing your best to help.
Venture Express has been helping people in this area for more than 40 years. They're headquartered in Murfreesboro with over 30 years of dedicated fleets involving production, manufacturing, and corrugated experiences. They're an asset-based company with over 700 tractors, 4,000 trailers, and 800 drivers. If you need their help, dial them up 615-793-9500 or log on to ventureexpress.com.
Hit After Hit has become the baseball store in Tennessee. They have over 1,000 different models of gloves and over 1,500 wood bats. They also have several Iron Mike pitching machines as well as a Hit Trax machine. If they don't have it, you probably don't need it. We're proud to call Hit After Hit the official shirt provider of the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night.
For over 35 years, Wilson Bank & Trust has been committed to providing customized banking solutions to help individuals, families, and businesses in Tennessee achieve their goals. As your full-service community bank, we are proud to offer loans with competitive rates, local decision-making, and fast, friendly service from our experienced lenders. No matter where you are on your financial journey, Wilson Bank & Trust is ready to help you take the next step. Visit your nearest Wilson Bank & Trust office or online at wilsonbank.com to get started today. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Okay. Sunday, 5:30. Alliance Stadium in Las Vegas.
Allegiant.
Allegiant, whatever. Big old stadium.
Yeah.
In Vegas, domed. It'll be the centerpiece of a Super Bowl that I think we're all looking forward to. Here's my tale of the tape. It's really not all that far away from Watson's. Now you say it's neutral site. Why are you going home field 49ers? Well, watch it on Sunday and see if there's not a home field advantage for San Fran. You know, maybe that's not the way it ought to be, neutral site, but given where it is, that's the way it is.
Yeah, I heard there's a whole plane, or I saw where there's a whole plane of San Francisco 49ers employees. They're bringing everybody within the organization.
That's not that far.
Yeah. So Watson's right. This is going to be a home field advantage.
Okay, so the running game, you go with San Francisco. I don't think that's any surprise, but I do think it's closer because of Isaiah Pacheco than a lot of people would have you believe. Maybe the passing game check mark should not be as far in Kansas City's corner as it is. But you got to go KC because of Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
Now, here is where this is a totally different deal than it used to be. I think KC's going to win. Why do I think they're going to win? Because I think two teams in a row have figured something out about San Fran's defense, and it's not anywhere near as ungettable as people have thought. Detroit ripped them a new one in the first half and then couldn't take it to the wire. Green Bay really did take it to the wire, and a missed field goal got San Fran that win. I'm going Kansas City on defense. I know that sounds crazy, but I think they are slightly better because I don't see Detroit just ripping through KC the way they did San Fran.
I'm with you. That's a damn good defense under Steve Spagnuolo. I mean, they frustrated Lamar Jackson to no end like nobody else has this year. And, you know, I think there's a good shot. Good comment here from Ryan. I'll take SF because George is taking KC.
Oh, I love it.
But no, I mean, I think Lamar Jackson was rolling, and they just
hold on. Put the one on top of it up there. That's pretty good.
Brock Purdy needs to save us from Taylor Swift. That's a good one.
That's hilarious.
But no, I mean, can they do that to Brock Purdy? And I think there's a good chance that Brock Purdy just gets flustered to no end by this Spagnuolo defense. I'm not saying it's a blowout, but I mean, they've done that to every other quarterback they played.
Here to me are the intangibles. We'll go kicking game, dead even. Both of them got good kickers. This is a rematch of a fairly recent Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And don't think that's not on San Fran's bulletin board, and don't think those guys haven't had to see that tape. They have. On the other side, the intangible is Patrick Mahomes. There is something about this guy, a refusal to lose, a refusal to give in when none of us really deep down believe in him. If the truth be known, there weren't that many people thought they were going to go to Baltimore and win.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, I'm one of the guilty party. I thought Baltimore would win. Until I knew about Buffalo's injuries, I thought Buffalo was going to get them.
Yeah, same.
I think it's going to be a great Super Bowl. I've got it a little more low scoring than Watson might at 27-20. And by the way, that will be, I guess, for the purposes of plaster bet of the day, we'll throw that in there. KC
okay.
Plus the 1.5 or whatever it now is over San Fran. Now let's give you the basketball picks of the day, but let's, I guess, review
Brought
first.
to you by Bart Durham Injury Law. Best in the business. Give him a call, not 931. That's John English, 615-242-9000, or log on to bartdurham.com. Little review from last night. What did we have? We had 2. Iowa did not win.
No, Penn State got it done late and buried them.
Mm-hmm.
Iowa had taken a lead. Penn State got them. Good for them. Oregon State did not win, but they covered a number that I thought was about 3 or 4 too high.
The Beavs.
Yeah, at home.
I like it.
Right now, what you've got in the big conferences, the Power Five, is real difficulty going on the road and winning.
Mm-hmm.
And that, to me, is becoming more and more of a factor.
I was looking at the SEC and every team's home record.
Yeah.
With like the top 5, 6 teams. It's all 11-1,
Yeah.
11-0.
Oh, yeah.
10-2. It's crazy.
So here we go to tomorrow's college basketball. Kentucky. Codlock cinch at home against Gonzaga. Gonzaga, overrated.
Yeah, they're not. It's weird seeing them ranked.
I think they're badly overrated. If the season stopped today, they don't get in the tournament.
Yeah.
They potentially have to win that conference tournament.
Boy, this could be a powder keg game and at Rupp. Not that they haven't had them already, but I mean, if they lose to mediocre
they don't need to lose
team, no, and neither does Gonzaga.
No, but from a committee standpoint, they can probably get away with it.
They probably can because they're in the WCC and they'll find a way to
that trip to
beat up on Santa Clara
and San Francisco and Portland.
Yeah, and what's the other one? Forgetting it. It's not Loyola. I forget which one.
Move on. I wouldn't have done this a week ago. I have never seen that Fog Allen Fieldhouse as electric as it was a week ago.
That was awesome.
So Kansas's people are going to say, man, bring that same energy.
Mm-hmm.
And if they do, Kansas is going to cover.
That's at the Fog again, right?
Yes.
Yeah, easy Kansas.
Well, none of it's easy. Now, what drug am I taking to do this? I don't know. I really don't.
Calling the Hogs too much.
You know what? Let's bag it. Let's just get rid of it and put Tennessee in there.
Or
take Arkansas out because they don't deserve. They don't deserve at this point. That's a bad call on my end. We're going to take Tennessee. Griff thinks they win in double digits. I don't. I think it will be a root canal.
Griff's a little over his skis there, I think.
I think it'll be a root canal that Tennessee will cover late with free throws.
I'm with you.
Yes.
Super Bowl.
4 picks.
You already gave your
I already gave the Super Bowl. And Ryan says he's going the other way.
He said, I've got 31-24 San Fran.
In my radio days, I used to do this thing, gifts to the people. And I'd just gotten through, bellowing out a bunch of losers. And a guy calls me and he says, I really enjoy that segment. Well, thank you very much. He says, you know why? And I said, no, tell me why. He goes, because I listen every week and whatever you put out there, 5 minutes later, I call my bookie and go the other way.
So they are gifts to the people.
In some form or fashion. Okay, we're done. Enjoy the Super Bowl. Be safe in whatever you're doing. Looks like we're going to have a lot of rain. So stay dry. See you Monday.